I used to believe in the idea of slow love, the kind that matures, settles, softens into something safe. I thought that was enough. Mark and I had been married for 9 years. We met in college. He was the kind of man who carried books and ambition in the same hand. I loved his focus. He loved how I looked at him like he hung the stars. But lately, I don't think he's noticed me at all. Started small. Missed glances. Shorter kisses. Phone calls that ended with "love you" said too quickly like punctuation. Then it was full days with barely a word. Mornings turned into routines. Coffee, silence, departure. Nights weren't much better. A house was neat. Too neat. The kind of order that feels sterile, where nothing breathes unless you invite life in. But Mark never noticed. His world was built on targets, deadlines, and bottom lines. I watched him from across the dinner table some nights and realized I missed being seen. And that's when Jordan and Leah moved in next door. They weren't flashy, not the kind you'd notice immediately, but there was something magnetic about them. They had that easy laughter between them, the kind couples lose after too long. Their hands always found each other. Their eyes lingered. We met one Saturday when they brought over a bottle of wine as a welcome gesture. Leah had striking auburn hair and a smirk that never quite left her face. Jordan's handshake was firm, but his eyes were gentle, like he was taking inventory of every part of me without making it feel intrusive. We invited them in. Mark talked about work. Poured the wine. Leah complimented our home. Jordan complimented me. "You have a presence," he said, looking at me longer than Mark had in weeks. "It's warm." I laughed, brushing it off, but that moment stayed with me. We started seeing them more often. Game nights, casual dinners, porch talks that went too late. Leah always brought wine. Jordan always brought charm. And I always brought the part of myself that I didn't show Mark anymore. With them I laughed differently. I sat straighter. I dressed like I had somewhere to be. Even when I didn't. Leah noticed. "You've got great legs," she told me once, her eyes unapologetically slow as they roamed. "You should wear dresses more often." I did. The next time I saw them I wore red. Tight at the waist. Mark didn't comment. Jordan did, subtly. Look. Half smile. A raised brow. Leah let her fingers graze the fabric at my hip as she passed by with a glass of wine. Meant nothing. And yet it meant everything. The nights with Mark got quieter. He was always just tired. I stopped asking. I started waiting, not for him but for that thrill. That spark I hadn't felt in years. I told myself I wasn't doing anything wrong. They were just neighbors. Just friends. And if I felt more alive around them than I did in my own marriage, well, that wasn't their fault. Or mine. But I could feel it, something shifting. Like a current beneath calm water. One night, after another dinner at their place, I stayed behind to help clean up. Mark had left early, citing emails. Leah handed me a dish towel, her fingers brushing mine. "You always smell like cinnamon," she murmured. "It drives me crazy." She didn't wait for a response. Just walked off, leaving the air too heavy. I stood there in their kitchen, staring at my reflection in the microwave door. My cheeks were flushed. My heart was doing something I hadn't felt in years, beating for someone who noticed. I didn't know what I was hoping for. I didn't plan for anything. But I didn't leave right away either. It happened on a Friday. One of those evenings that begin ordinary but don't end that way. Mark was supposed to come. The four of us had planned dinner at Jordan and Leah's. Nothing out of the ordinary. I made sure to wear that same red dress. The one Leah liked. The one Jordan looked at like it told him all my secrets. But at the last minute, Mark texted. "Can't make it. Client call. Late night. Go without me." I stared at the message longer than I needed to. Not because I didn't expect it, but because I did. When I showed up at their door alone, Leah opened it barefoot, holding a half-filled wine glass, music humming low behind her. She didn't look surprised. Just smiled like she knew I'd come alone. "You look beautiful," she said softly. Her hand rested on my shoulder just a moment longer than polite. I stepped inside. Jordan was in the kitchen, slicing fruit for cocktails. His shirt sleeves were rolled up. He glanced over his shoulder and gave me that look again, the one that saw through my carefully placed calm. "I figured Mark wouldn't make it," he said. "He rarely does." The way he said it wasn't cruel. It was observant, like someone who'd been watching too closely for too long. Dinner was soft-lit, intimate. Music floating through the room like a slow dance you couldn't see. We laughed. We sipped. Leah touched my knee under the table when she told a joke. Jordan's foot brushed mine. No one apologized. I should have left early. I should have thanked them for the meal and walked out. I should have remembered what kind of woman I used to be. But I didn't. I stayed. And it wasn't because I was drunk. It wasn't because I was weak. It was because I was hungry. For something I'd been denying myself for too long. After dinner, Leah poured more wine. Jordan put on a different playlist. Slower now, something with breath and rhythm. We moved to the couch. I sat in the middle. Their bodies closed in gently on either side of me. There was no sudden move. No words. Leah's hand slid over mine on the couch cushion, her fingers lacing between mine. Jordan's arm draped casually over the backrest, his knuckles grazing my shoulder. I remember the way they looked at me. Not like a possession, not like a prize, but like a secret they were waiting to unwrap, if I let them. And I did. Leah leaned in first. Her lips brushed my cheeks, soft, slow, asking nothing. Just being. Jordan didn't interrupt. He watched us like he'd seen this before, like it was part of some unspoken rhythm they'd danced to before I ever arrived. When Leah's lips finally met mine, I didn't pull away. Jordan's hand found my thigh. Firm, warm, certain. Clothes slipped off like petals in the wind. Not rushed, not forced, just removed. It wasn't dirty. It wasn't wrong in that moment. It felt like the first time I'd been touched with intention in years. They moved like they'd done this before. Not with me but with each other, and now, somehow, with me folded into the middle of it. There were no roles, no boundaries, just sensation and surrender. Hands, lips, skin, it all blurred together. I didn't think about Mark. I didn't think about guilt. I didn't think at all. The three of us moved in tandem, like breath, like water, like something ancient. No one led. No one needed to. Time didn't exist. There was only now, and now, and now again. When it was over, we didn't speak. Leah curled against me. Jordan lay on the other side, one hand resting against my lower back. The silence wasn't awkward. It was full. I stared at the ceiling, the weight of what happened just beginning to settle. I wasn't ashamed. Not yet. I wasn't proud either. Just was. Floating between wrong and right, between everything I had and everything I just tasted. I knew I couldn't take it back, but I wasn't sure I wanted to. The morning after felt too quiet. Sunlight spilled through the blinds in soft strips, dancing across the white sheets I didn't recognize. Leah's breathing was slow beside me. Jordan was already gone. I could hear him in the kitchen, humming to himself, casual, like this was nothing new. I dressed in silence, each piece of clothing heavier than the night before. As I passed by the mirror in their hallway, I paused. I didn't look ruined. I looked awake. Mark didn't even ask where I'd been. When I walked through the door just after 9 a.m., he was still in his home office, on another Zoom call. He glanced at me and offered a distracted half-smile. "You eat?" he asked, eyes flicking back to his screen. I wanted to scream. I wanted him to smell the wine, to notice the way I walked, slower, different. I wanted him to accuse me, but he didn't. That was the worst part. The indifference. That night hadn't just been a betrayal. It had been a mirror. And I saw myself clearly for the first time in a long time. Not a wife, not a woman scorned. Just someone who had finally acted on what she'd been denying. That something inside her had been starving. Days passed. Jordan and Leah didn't text. They didn't act different. No tension, no aftermath. Just smiles across the yard, light waves. Casual greetings like nothing had changed. But something had. It had. Every night, I lay next to Mark and wondered how long I could keep pretending. Not about the night itself, that part one could bury, but about the version of me that was still playing house. Still folding laundry and cooking dinners like routine could fix what attention had eroded. I tried to want him. Really, I did. One evening I wore the same red dress. I let my hair fall down my back the way he used to like. I lit candles. I even played our old playlist. Mark came home late, kissed my forehead, said he was exhausted, ate in silence. When I slid beside him in bed that night, touching his chest, he murmured, "Not tonight, babe. Big pitch tomorrow." I stared at the ceiling, numb. The same ceiling I'd stared at in Jordan and Leah's house. Only this one felt colder. The guilt came in waves. Not just for what I'd done, but for how little I regretted it. It's a strange thing to miss guilt, to want it to burn so hot it cleans you out. But mine never flared. Just settled in my bones like winter. Constant. Quiet. I started walking more. Just to think. To breathe. One afternoon Leah joined me. Fell into step beside me like it was planned. Neither of us mentioned that night. Instead, she talked about the new flowers she planted. I listened, nodding, feeling her presence more than her words. Then, just before we reached my driveway, she looked at me and said, "You don't have to apologize for needing something you weren't getting." I opened my mouth, but there was nothing to say. I wasn't sorry. She smiled, kissed my cheek and walked away. Inside, Mark was still at his laptop. I watched him for a long time. The man I married. The man who hadn't asked me a real question in over a year. The man who once told me I lit up every room, and now couldn't tell when I was disappearing. That night, I stood in front of the mirror again. Same reflection. Different woman. I didn't hate myself. I didn't feel proud. I just felt honest. They didn't ask. They didn't need to. They just saw the cracks I thought I'd hidden well, and slid through them like water. Let them. Not because I didn't love Mark, but because I needed to love myself more than I feared losing him. And maybe that makes me a terrible person. Or maybe it just makes me human.